Okay, we are back, and we have on the line from the Seattle area, Dr. Beth Fisher. Dr. Beth has been on Medical Marijuana Radio before, a couple of years ago, I believe. And welcome back once again, Dr. Beth.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you. Hi, friends. How are you today?
So basically, you've been a huge advocate for seniors. How did you get interested in being a senior advocate? Because obviously, there's so many seniors that are coming either back to cannabis now in their older years, or they've never used it at all. So what's going on with the seniors now?
Seniors now. Well, the first question, Larry, the reason I did it, it was my mom. She had passed from Alzheimer's, and I had made sure I'd given her cannabis tea to some degree, didn't really understand it. It was when we were just beginning to learn. And I knew that I did not want to face that, and I didn't want other seniors, retired seniors, seniors in assisted living, seniors in hospice. I wanted them to have those options. I wanted those options in 30 years, Larry. What's the big thing going on with seniors? Seniors are feeling pinched. They're financially, cannabis patients who are above the age 50, who are retired, they're feeling the pinch like no other. We have an 87% tax hit on Colorado, 75 on Washington. What's a senior to do? We've been working with seniors. We've come up with a solution, not the solution. We're helping seniors to grow. And that's the new thing is
Mm-hmm.
having seniors taking their gardening skills and bringing it to cannabis.
Fantastic. But you touched on Alzheimer's and dementia, cognitive impairment, which many seniors have. I mean, years ago, before they identified what that was, they used to call people going senile. But obviously now we know a little bit different. Now I also deal with a little bit of cognitive. I'm sorry. Impairment with my mom, and she's in the medical cannabis program. And Alzheimer's and cognitive impairment is just so rampant. But in doing my research on what to give my 87-year-old mom, there was something called Aricept, which I'm sure you've probably heard of.
Yes.
And when I did my due diligence to read about the Aricept that her doctors said that she could try, it said it would not reverse any of the symptoms or reverse cognitive impairment or Alzheimer's, but would just sort of make the patient feel a little bit better. But then researching cannabis, there's all kinds of articles out there that says that neurogenesis happens with cannabis, which means that it rebuilds brain cells, could actually reverse cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's. What are you hearing and reading about that? You getting the same information?
I'm getting the same information. What we used to believe is that with the cannabis and ALZ is that you would have it would help the patient be peaceful. They didn't think about the neurogenesis as we've spoken about. They didn't talk about the healing or even the prevention of that plaque buildup in the brain. And that's really what we're talking about is that the cannabis just prevents that protein or plaque from building and essentially destroying parts of your brain. We know that with the entourage effect going on, that with whole plant, of which the seniors can learn how to grow, but it's that whole plant, Larry, as you know,
Absolutely.
that provides everything you need. It really does. Think about your home, Larry. I know you. You are a can man from head to toe. There's hemp in your house. There's hemp seeds. You're careful about what you wear, what you use. And for a senior, you think about the typical day if they would grow. They would have oils. They would have their tinctures that they could make by themselves. They would have their fresh leaves for juicing. They would have their flowers for either vaping or smoking. They essentially would become their own dispensary.
Obviously, to be self-sufficient is the best way to go. Prices are very high. I know that you're now in Washington State, where they have legalization for adult use slash recreational use, however you want to describe it, and the medical um, community is sort of suffering in a way. So what's happening? I know that the governor just signed something last week that's going to change everything up. So can you fill us in a little bit on Washington?
I sure can. Larry, that commercial for the frost, let me back up just a little bit.
Sure.
The frostbite commercial, three women were there. I was one of them. I'm the blonde, as you know.
Yes, I
The
saw
mid,
that commercial. It's
yes,
very, very entertaining.
yes. But Dawn Darrington, who is in the middle, who leads the conversation in that commercial, is a leading political advocate and activist on the state for us. So now the information I can share with you basically comes from the update from which we know for Dawn. She went in there and she tried to work with representatives. She did everything she could. And the governor went in and said, okay, we're moving to the next stage of our cannabis as liquor control board plan, and essentially said by July 2016, that's it. It's all going through rec, and patients can either have 6 plants if they register on a federal registry, or 4 plants if they don't. Now that was in their plan, but they have not included the fact that cannabis is medicine. It's not the same as liquor, and it needed to be treated as such. Since we do not know what will happen, we wanted to make sure that our seniors, the group that we've been working with since 2012 actively and openly about cannabis, that they are taken care of. They'll be with prices going up as high as they can. Seniors will be pinched, and seniors are the ones who have the time and the knowledge, the gardening knowledge on how to grow. So with all of this going on, this is what we're doing. We're being proactive about the governor's decision. We know that there are lawsuits coming up. Just the fact that the courts will have to hear more and more about cannabis as medicine really might have to reverse the governor's decision, Larry.
Well, you know, it's so important. I've said it a million times on this show and in my private life and speaking with people that with legalization, we need to preserve and facilitate the medical industry because, there's a lot of misconception out there. You know, everybody is not faking to get into a medical cannabis program so that they can smoke pot and get high. There's so many very ill people that really need it as medicine, and they need to be educated. And that's a problem when a senior who maybe hasn't smoked anything in 40 years or just never experienced cannabis, but now there are physicians and are asking them to try it for many different conditions, whether it's chronic pain or sleep or arthritis or whatever. So the medical industry needs to be sustained. It needs to go on. So if they're closing up all the medical dispensaries in Washington, how do you think the future would bring? How can we bring medical dispensaries back? Are they allowed to apply for, let's say, a recreational license, but actually open up a medical dispensary? Do you know anything if that's starting to happen up there?
They can do that. They can make their transfer over when the 502 license is open. That window opens back up. But as is now, all those windows are closed. It's just that it is. So everybody's kind of either got their fingers in the 502 pie beforehand, or they're just kind of hoping that changes will take place. But remember, you can't bring back rights that are lost. I mean, they're going to have to fight twice as hard. And I think this is where that lawsuit coming up for the governor and the state of Washington is going to say there is a distinct difference. We have to remember, Larry, that when the governor implemented this plan, they did not have that understanding, that the evolving and emerging understanding of medical cannabis, of the research, how it helps save lives. They would address it. And remember, Washington went MMJ in 98. So they've had all this time to understand that cannabis is medicine. When they passed that law, when they passed the rec law, they really didn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, we'll placate those people that smoke pot, but they're really not patients, as you said. It's going to change. It really is. And this is what we're trying to do. helps seniors learn, become empowered, the same way they grow lavender and mint in the summertime. You can grow out if it's safe enough for you. If not, you can grow in. Larry, what we know is seniors don't want to grow 150 plants. They want to grow, you know that, right?
Oh, nobody wants to grow 150 plants. You know that there's a big difference between growing 2 or 3 or 4 plants and 150. There's a big learning curve there, as many dispensaries and some of these egomaniac growers seem to finally understand that there's a big difference between that. But as far as Washington is concerned, they had the medical since 1998, which is about 2 years less than California, which started in '96. But I guess my understanding is, and I'm not an expert on Washington, is that there were just so little regulations that it got out of hand. Is that the truth of what's going on there, and why the governor is closing up medical dispensaries?
I'm always no. The answer to that is no. It is it it gets me a little frustrated at this point. It is not the wild, wild west. It is an area where there have been regulations. As you know, it's all about, when it gets to that level, greed and who's in power. That
Mm-hmm.
really is what it comes down to. When patients can share in an organized fashion with other patients about the information of medical cannabis, what are the best flowers to use, or the best forms of the medicine. And you and I've talked about that before. They may say it's unregulated because it's a cream or a tincture or a tonic, or it's unregulated because we can bring, individuals can carry up to 1.5 pounds right now. Well, it's not unregulated, it's evolving.
Mm-hmm.
It's evolving in the way a natural economy, and if we just look at it from an economic point of view, it's really how a natural economy should be evolving, not a controlled environment where it's up for greed.
Right. So best case scenario, how would you like to see, since you live up there, the Washington situation roll out? Because you and I are, staunch medical supporters, and we're also staunch senior supporters. I mean, I'm definitely a senior. So how would you like to see this modified for Washington and the seniors, and for other medical people up there?
Thank you, Larry. um, Separate it, absolutely. If you want recreational, have it. I've been into the recreational stores. I talk with dispensaries. I talk with 502 rec stores. When you go into a 502 rec store in Washington, everything is sealed up. It's like going to the bank with the bulletproof windows. You slide in, you slide out. That's it. They've just run tests. As you know, that the news this week out of Colorado was PM and mold. In Washington, there was a Washington doctor that did a test on the 502 on the rec cannabis, and found that it had too many pesticides that were not even supposed to be on the list. And the list itself for the rec grow is enormous. So what do I want for patients? If you're a patient, there's a patient mode. If you're a rec, there are rec options. As number two, taxes. Where we have taxes on medical cannabis, we don't have taxes on the pharmaceuticals. Treat it exactly the same. In essence, I want patients to have their rights. I don't want them to lose their rights to use medical cannabis just so others can enjoy it recreationally.
Right.
And as you and I both know, in the end, it's all about medicinal. It really is.
Right.
If you're reaching for it, there's a reason you're reaching for it. And you should be reaching for it, Larry. You and I both know, if you have a sufficient cannabinoid system, you can you can tolerate toxins more often than others. You can tolerate that bad food as a senior. When you go to a potluck or you go to someone's buffet and you get sick,
Mm-hmm.
well, with cannabis, you can take a cap or take a tincture or drink a tea and your stomach's going to feel better.
Yeah, and it's interesting. For many, many years, all of us, when I say all of us, I mean people that have been using cannabis, maybe we didn't know we were using it medicinally, but we were. And so it's interesting now with all of the studies that come out from other countries, because we've obviously not been allowed to do too many of them here, although there's people in California, Dr. Abrams, and other people that have been doing stuff for a long time. All the good news is coming out now, and that's why um, the landscape is changing so rapidly, nationally and internationally, as you know. But let's get back to the seniors, and what is the best advice that you could give to a senior who is trying this as medicine for the first time? Because it's really important that they have a good experience the first time. Anybody, whether you're a senior or a young person, or else you may not go back to this medicine that could really be helpful. So, first time seniors, how do you deal with them, Beth?
Well, let's take it by typical age group. You and I have asked this, we've discussed this before. If I would have a typical senior coming in for issues of pain or issues of inflammation, I would go with a rub. I would go with a cream. I have a hemp stick that I can use throughout the United States because it is hemp based. That with essential oils begins to help seniors. You rub it on and it feels good. And that the CDBs and the hemp oil actually reduce the swelling. So I always go topical. But if I'm looking at a patient that's looking at oncology issues, then we're going to look at something different. We're going to look at an oil. We're going to look at what's comfortable for their stomach. We might even look at a distilled can of water. You never know. If you've got someone with a higher level infection, that there's other topical things that you can use.
So let me interrupt just for a second. Distilled can of water. I'm not familiar with that. Can you give me a little info?
Well, it's some of the research they're using out of Israel where they were looking at the ionic development and how to take the can of water, the water that's been submerged with the cannabis into the cannabis is submerged into the water, and seeing what can come from that with a distillation ionizational process. And those are some of the new things coming out. So seniors can, infuse their cells with this. And very simply, Larry, what happens when you take a bunch of beautiful, fresh indica leaves and you snip them and you put them in a glass of water, right?
Yeah, I don't know what would happen. I know that the cannabinoids and THC and the other cannabinoids are not soluble in water, but what would the water be bringing out?
Well, think about what Dr. Courtney advocates in doing the raw. When I do my trimming, I just put it in the glass, and the leaves last for many days. And I fill it with fresh, highly purified water using a small boy, which is a grower's filter, and drink from it. So I know that the leaf and I are exchanging those properties. Is that the leaf is giving me the nutrients that it had, and it's putting it into the water. And it's an enjoyable drink. I get a nice light flavor. It makes me feel better. Essentially, it's cold tea.
So let's talk about juicing for a second, because obviously Dr. Courtney and others are saying that juicing may be the best way to ingest and be some of the best medicine that this plant can produce. So give me some experience about juicing, because I'm hearing that if you try to juice it, you have to have a certain industrial type of machine, because the plant is just so tough and so forth. So you have to juice it the right way, and then maybe even mix it with something else when you drink it because of the taste and bitterness. What is your experience?
Okay, I can answer that in about an hour, but let me give it the short version.
Okay, please.
Okay, I do not use a wheatgrass machine as Dr. Courtney recommends. Friends, if you can have a wheatgrass, or it's just a really fine, it's a really, really strong juicer. That is the best kind to get. I don't have that. I have a simple Cuisinart juicer. I does it Is it a little bit more pulpy than the top line? Yeah, but I'm a senior. We look at the dollar amount and we see what else do we want to do. So I'll take my fresh leaves from a trim, and they're rinsed in purified water. I will first start off, I'll juice them down into a concentrate, and then I put them, do several things. I will put them in my ice cube trays.
Okay, make
Right
like
now,
make like
yes,
little. Okay, I understand that. I think that's a very
yes,
good way to do things.
yes. You can drink it straight. You can combine it. I do a combination of beet, carrot, and cannabis, or beet, cucumber, and cannabis. The raw can be used in, I'll make a salad dressing with it purified and shake it in there and put it on. This is really, Larry, what we're talking about is saying to seniors, there are so many things that you can do when you grow your own. When you know you take it from the plant, you are the processor and you are the purchaser, all because you are growing. And it's about whole plant, Larry, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
not pills, not that extracted THC from GW. It's the whole plant. That's how nature intended it to be. We just want to share that with seniors and how to do it because that's empowering.
Absolutely, and again, juicing is definitely a way to go, but it is also. Let me ask you this, because I've never tried the juice. But are we talking about only juicing vegetative plants, or juicing plants that are in flower? What's the difference there?
Oh, I throw it all in. If when I make bong, I'll use my raw buds for bong tea with the juicing. I'll throw a couple buds in. I mean, I don't want to waste anything. So if I'm trimming and something happens, it goes in the blender. It really does. I also use my fresh or dried flowers when I'm making my oil and my tinctures.
Now, are you familiar with something that's going around now? We did a show on it a couple weeks ago called Rosentech or Rosentech, where you can take a, um, I don't have it handy, but you take a flat iron, a hair iron that you would use to straighten your hair. Do you know about this?
Yes, yes.
Have you tried? I've tried it, and it does work. What do you think of that? That would be a real easy way for a senior with not a lot of setup could actually make oil to either dab, or actually you could probably make some capsules if you made enough oil. I think this is a very simple way for a novice person to get the good medicine from using that Rosentech. Have you tried it?
We've tried it twice now, and what we love about it is that there are no toxins. Larry, I'm in total agreement with you. This is really what we want is whole plant and no toxins in our concentrates. It's a great way to
Yeah.
do it. We're not proficient at it, so I really can't talk about it from experience like I could with juicing or making the tinctures of the oils, but we've tried it twice and we did like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hearing like a 20-25% return. So if you were to take 7 grams of bud, and personally, I think it needs to be somewhat fresh bud, but cured, you could get, maybe almost 2 grams out of that of oil, which is very, very good. And so I highly suggest people go online and look up the Rosin. I believe it's pronounced Rosin, though, not Rosentech, and check that out. I did buy a very inexpensive at Target hair flat iron, and it seems to work very, very well. So I highly suggest that everybody give that a try. This can be very expensive when going to a dispensary to buy wax or butter or oil, and that really is the real medicine. So, what else would you like to touch on? We have just a couple of minutes left, Dr. Beth. Tell us what's coming up for you, and where you'll be, are you traveling around this summer, going to any conventions?
You know, we're not. We are really focusing on our videos and our teaching that we can do online for folks because when you grow, you know where you have to be every night. Every night I'm down there with the girls, so that really limits me. I was really glad I had the last 3 previous years to travel into the MMJ and now the rec states to find out. I think what's most important, Larry, is that seniors understand that they can have cannabis, use cannabis effectively from the time that they become seniors, whether it's chronologically or physically, all the way to hospice settings. That's the most important point is that you find somebody, you learn to grow, you find someone to help you speak with your doctor, record your forms. Larry, my forms, if someone wants the forms, have them email me at seniormedicalcannabis@gmail.com. I have the forms that I will send to them. They can take it to their doctors. They can work together. It's all about helping seniors understand cannabis is medicine, about education.
Okay.
Thanks, Larry.
My pleasure. And once again, that's seniormedicine@gmail.com. If you'd like to get that from Dr. Beth Fisher. And I would love to have you back in a few weeks to talk about a subject that we didn't talk about today, which is seniors and others using cannabis to enhance their sex life. So let's talk about that in the next few weeks.
Can't wait. Just remember, 60's the new 40, Larry.
Oh, then I feel like I'm 35.
Oh, then let's rock it.
Thanks, Dr. Bess Fisher. We'll have you back again very, very soon. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Larry.
We'll be right back after these words.